What is she?
She's like a blind skate. What happened?
This was the name because of ambulance. So she like the landscape.
You're stuck? No, they're just like, they're just slow.
The issue is Shahidju is not here.
We got 5 minutes out. They won't be here, but I mean.
We can tell her to slowly stop the treatment.
Well, it's just what people
Yeah,
so
it's good. It's fine.
it's better
It's
for
fine.
her to
That we you're in Ventus or
Yeah. Oh, we work together.
First of all, it's Egypt. And then my introduction is that the family people together because they don't know it. Then one of them, when you do know people who are not they do know. Is it you know what I'm trying to say? At least they realize. I think it's nice that you stick as a family together. So wherever you are. Yeah. She's doing that.
Still put them on the podium and then one by one goes behind it. Get close to you.
Because we send them over to Hassan. These flowers, this little one. My mom and dad had a group of friends that they grew up as kids together until old age. And these are the remaining. So Rosa, Samandari, Lame, Larga, and then we have Iraji Man who was like a brother to my mom. And then we have Shahid, and we have Victoria, Afshar, Mojde's mom. Manije, Samandari, and the last one is finished, the Larga. So these were a group of 15, 16 people that they were always together, doing things together, as kids, as young people. So this is from the large group to the remaining few. I finished it, went to one classes, because I said, if I was with the languages, it's sweet. It's sweet. Anyone water? Water? No? And very Sheila sitting, we can leave it for them. Where is Sheila sitting?
Yeah,
Here, just few of them for their.
few there for the four comments.
Just waiting for my daughter. That's a go and then come. It's a very legit. We are waiting for Sheila to arrive because on the Lions Gate apparently an ambulance had to pass through the close. Shidon is asking if you can play something extra until Sheila comes, or you don't have the piece. No, you have 3 pieces.
Sure, yeah, I can.
Just to break the silence because it's going live stream now. And then when you start the program, then you start your the piece that you wanted.
Okay.
Is it okay?
That's fine.
Are you sure?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. dear family around the world, and the many friends joining us remotely. The ASHRAF, Fatheazam, Rasech and Snyder families want to express their gratitude to you for being with our family here in Vancouver. It's just few of us because of the health situation. I want to start the program today with few words about our beloved mother, Mehrshid. I start with a poem because she loves poetry, and this is a poem by Mehrshid, which I particularly like, a part of the poem. You are with me, you are always with me, you are thriving in my heart, alive within me. If I have not yet died here, it is because they cannot take from me what I shall never lose. Mehrshid, Fatheazam, ASHRAF, Mehrshid for the family, or Mimi for her grand and great-grandchildren, will always be with us. And we cannot lose her because she's in our hearts and in our life forever. Today, a small group of our families gathered here to say farewell to Mehrshid and send her off with prayers, memories, and readings for her eternal journey to her abode, eternal abode, to the kingdom of reality and the realm of everlasting glory. We feel the warm embrace of all those people who wanted to be here but couldn't because of the present health situation. We are close to all of you, our beloved family and friends who, alone or in groups, are joining us from Europe, South Africa, part of Asia, Brazil, United States, and Canada. We feel your love, your warmth. We see you as a beacon of light across the world. I want you to close your eyes for a second and think of Mehrshid. What image comes to you? A radiant face, a heartwarming smile, and eyes filled with love and affection. This was Mimi. Her heart was reflected in her face. In one of the messages received, a friend wrote, I will always remember Mehrshid for her faith and certitude, her warmth and kindness, her taste and elegance, and for her noble and distinguished demeanor. Indeed, she was born into spiritual nobility and lived up to its requisites. It is perhaps one of the most beautiful descriptions of such a soul. She had 2 points in her life around which her existence would revolve: her faith and her family. With humility and in a silent and dedicated way, she served the cause in which so deeply believed. She went pioneering to Italy, to Rimini, until she moved back to Iran. She served in Italy nationally, the National Children Education Committee, and also locally. Once back to Iran, hand of the cause, our beloved Mr. Faizi expressed to her the importance of having a children magazine. The Vargal magazine was born in Tehran. Mehrshid raised funds for it, was part of the committee along with Goli and Faribor Sahba. She took care of the distribution to each of the household by offering her car and driver. She deputized pioneers once she was not able to be in a pioneering post, but most importantly, as Abdul Baha asked us, she was not content with showing friendship in words alone. Her heart
burned with loving kindness for all who may have crossed her path. The many calls and messages we received are a testimonial of the unconditional love she tried to give to everyone. As for the family, she recreated for us, her children, through memories and stories, the incredible persona of her father, Nureddin Fatheazam, who was tragically killed and whom she adored. Her love for her mother, brothers, uncle, aunts, cousins, nieces, and nephews from both the Fatheazam and ASHRAF Arjuman side is beyond description. She beamed when talking about them. And then comes her love and sacrifice toward Roshan and myself, towards her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I want to share a beautiful story in the hospital. When she was in the hospital, we had glued a picture of her 5 great-grandchildren to the side of her bed. In one of the last days of her earthly existence, when she was frail and tired, we saw her turning toward the picture, staring at it, and with renewed energy, extending her hand toward the picture and caressing each of them, and then sending a genetic kiss to all of them. I'm glad that here present is our beloved Aunt Shafiqa, a sister to my mom, a childhood friend, a sister-in-law, but above all, a symbol of the possibility of a relationship between 2 souls based on purity of motives, complete unity, and everlasting affection. In our program, we have chosen one of Mom's favorite writings of Baha'u'llah. She loved it and lived by it, as if this tablet was a framework which determined every single action of hers. My brother Roshan will read it. Listen to it, and you will see how deeply she tried to apply it in her daily life. We want to start our program now. Shidan will read an English prayer, Shafiqa will follow, and then Roshan will read that tablet. We decided that each of Mehrshid's grandchildren will read in their family group, and this is for a reason, because so many of our family or friends who have not seen the children in a long time, or not at all, will have an idea of whom they are. The first group will be composed of our son Rod and his family, his wife Kate, Ben, and Zach. The second group is formed by Sean, our youngest, and his wife Stephanie. We miss our little Shada, who is too young to be here. Mom would always call her the Shaytun one. The third group is composed of our daughter Sheila, her husband Jason, and our beloved Sabri and Subi. We start our program knowing that Mehrshid's soul is rejoicing. Her soul, as says Abdul Baha, is grateful, for it has been released from the bondage of the limited to enjoy the liberties of the unlimited. It has been freed from a world of sorrow, grief, and trials to live in a world of unending bliss and joy.
From the sweet sentence stream of thy eternity, give me to drink, O my God, and of the fruits of the tree of thy being, enable me to taste, O my hope. From the crystal springs of thy love, suffer me to quaff, O my glory, and beneath the shadow of thine everlasting providence, let me abide, O my light. Within the meadows of thy nearness, before thy presence, make me able to roam, O my beloved, and at the right hand of the throne of thy mercy, seat me, O my desire. From the fragrant breezes of thy joy, let the breath pass over me, O my goal, and into the heights of the paradise of thy reality, let me gain admission, O my adored one. To the melodies of the dove of thy oneness, suffer me to hearken, O resplendent one, and through the spirit of thy power and thy might, quicken me, O my provider. In the spirit of thy love, keep me steadfast, O my succorer, and in the path of thy good pleasure, set firm my steps, O my maker. Within the garden of thy immortality, before thy countenance, let me abide forever, O thou who art merciful unto me, and upon the seat of thy glory establish me, O thou who art my possessor. To the heaven of thy loving kindness lift me up, O my quickener, and unto the day star of thy guidance lead me, O thou my attractor. Before the revelation of thine invisible spirit, summon me to be present, O thou who art my origin and my highest wish, and unto the essence of the fragrance of thy beauty, which thou wilt manifest, cause me to return, O thou who art my God. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou art verily the most exalted, the all-glorious, the all-highest. Baha'u'llah.
بخشنده یزدانا این بندگان آزادگان بودند و این جانهای تابان به نور هدایتت روشن و درخشنده گشتند. جامی سرشار از باده محبتت نوشیدند و اسراری بی پایان از اوتار معرفتت شنیدند. دل به تو بستند و از دام بیگانگی جستند و به یگانگی تو پیوستند. این نفوس نفیسه را انیس لاهوتیان فرمان و در حلقه خاصان درآر و در خلوتگاه
عالم بالا محرم اسرار کن و موفق بر رفتار فرما.
Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasurer to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answerer of the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of the pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man, and show all meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in the darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victims of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind, and the guiding light unto the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the host of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart, an ark on the ocean of the knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility.
O thou provider, O thou forgiver, a noble soul hath ascended unto the kingdom of reality, and hastened from the mortal world of dust to the realm of everlasting glory. Exalt the station of this recently arrived guest, and attire this long-standing servant with a new and wondrous robe. O thou peerless Lord, Grant thy forgiveness and tender care, so that the soul may be admitted into the retreats of thy mysteries, and may become an intimate companion in the assemblage of splendors. Thou art the giver, the bestower, the ever-loving. Thou art the pardoner, the tender, the most powerful.
Know thou of a truth that the soul, after its separation from the body, will continue to progress until it attaineth the presence of God, in a state and condition which neither the revolution of ages and centuries, nor the changes and chances of this world can alter. It will endure as long as the kingdom of God, his sovereignty, his dominion, and power will endure. It will manifest the signs of God and his attributes, and will reveal his loving kindness and bounty. Blessed is the soul which, at the hour of its separation from the body, is sanctified from the vain imaginings of the peoples of the world. Such a soul liveth and moveth in accordance with the will of its Creator, and entereth the all-highest paradise.
To consider that after the death of the body the spirit perishes is like imagining that a bird in a cage will be destroyed if the cage is broken. Though the bird has nothing to fear from the destruction of the cage, our body is like the cage, and the spirit is like the bird. If the cage becomes broken, the bird will continue and exist. Its feelings will be even more powerful, its perceptions greater, and its happiness increases.
Sorry not if, in these days on this earthly plane, things contrary to your wishes have been ordained and manifested by God. For days of blissful joy and heavenly delight are assuredly in store for you. Worlds, holy and spiritually glorious, will be unveiled to your eyes.
O Son of Spirit, burst thy cage asunder, and even as the phoenix of love soar into the firmament of holiness, renounce thyself, and filled with the spirit of mercy, abide in the realm of celestial sanctity.
O Son of Man, ascend unto my heaven, that thou mayest obtain the joy of reunion, and from the chalice of imperishable glory quaff the peerless wine.
O Son of Man, my eternity is my creation. I have created it for thee. Make it the garment of thy temple. My unity is my handiwork. I have wrought it for thee. Clothe thyself therewith, that thou mayest be to all eternity the revelation of my everlasting being.
O Son of Man, thou art my dominion, and my dominion perisheth not. Wherefore fearest thou thy perishing? Thou art my light, and my light shall never be extinguished. Why dost thou dread extinction? Thou art my glory, and my glory fadeth not. Thou art my robe, and my robe shall never be outworn. Abide then in thy love for me, that thou mayest find me in the realm of glory.
O Lord, O thou whose mercy hath encompassed all, whose forgiveness is transcendent, whose bounty is sublime, whose pardon and generosity are all-embracing, and the lights of whose forgiveness are diffused throughout the world. O Lord of glory, I entreat thee fervently and tearfully to cast upon thy handmaiden, who hath ascended unto thee, the glances of the eye of thy mercy. Robe her in the mantle of thy grace, bright with the ornaments of the celestial paradise, and sheltering her beneath the tree of thy oneness, illumine her face with the lights of thy mercy and compassion. Bestow upon thy heavenly handmaiden, O God, the holy fragrances born of the spirit of thy forgiveness. Cause her to dwell in a blissful abode, heal her griefs with the balm of thy reunion, and in accordance with thy will, grant her admission to thy holy paradise. Let the angels of thy loving kindness descend successfully upon her, and shelter her beneath thy blessed tree. Thou art verily the ever-forgiving, the most generous, the all-bountiful.
A friend asked, "How should one look forward to death?" Abdul-Baha answered, "How does one look forward to the goal of any journey? With hope and with expectation. It is even so with the end of this earthly journey. In the next world, man will find himself freed from many of the disabilities under which he now suffers. Those who have passed on through death have a sphere of their own. It is not removed from ours. Their work, the work of the kingdom, is ours, but it is sanctified from what we call time and place. Time with us is measured by the sun. When there is no more sunrise and no more sunset, that kind of time does not exist for man. Those who have ascended have different attributes from those who are still on earth, yet there is no real separation. In prayer, there is a mingling of station, a mingling of condition. Pray for them as they pray for you."
He is God. O thou forgiving Lord, these servants were noble souls, and these radiant hearts were made illumined and resplendent through the light of thy guidance. They drank a brimming cup of the wine of thy love, and gave ear to eternal mysteries imparted by the melodies of thy knowledge. They bound their hearts to thee, broke free from the snare of estrangement, and laid hold of thy unity. Make these precious souls companions of the inmates of heaven, and admit them into the circle of thy chosen ones. Make them intimates of thy mysteries in the retreats of the realm above, and immerse them in the sea of lights. Thou art the bestower, the luminous, and the kind. O Lord my God,
O Lord my God,
open thou the door,
open thou the door,
prepare the means,
prepare the means,
make safe the path,
make safe the path,
and guide our way,
and guide our way.
For verily thou art,
For verily thou art
the help in peril,
the help in peril,
the
self-subsisting,
the self-subsisting,
Yabahaulapa,
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 Yabahaulapa.
So memories of Mehrshid. So I want to thank you all for coming today or for watching via live stream on your computer from wherever in the world you are. It is fitting that people are watching from all over the world, as our dear Mehrshid, or as we affectionately called her, Mimi, was truly a woman of the world. Persian by blood, Italian by proxy, and finally a true Canadian granny, complete with West Coast lifestyle, with her healthy diet and seawall exercise routine. She was the poster child for Vancouver lifestyle before the Vancouver lifestyle became trendy. Today is remembering the end of an era. I was fortunate to be able to spend over 4 decades with all 4 of my grandparents in my life. How lucky was I to grow up and then grow older with my dear Mimi and Baba and Farijun and Papa. I'm happy that Kate got to experience having the grandparents she never had. And for both my boys, being able to be old enough to remember spending time with all 4 of their great-grandparents. Such a lucky treat. I know how a lifetime of healthy living allowed her to be so independent until just this last month of her life. She was fiercely independent and in such good shape right until the last hospital admission recently. It showed you how strong her body was and how healthy she was, in that we were told that she likely only had a few hours to live, but only to have her live another 2 weeks. I joked with my mom that if she only smoked or drank or was out of shape, that she would have moved on to the next world and to be able to see her beloved Baba so much more quickly. I'm sure he was annoyed that she arrived late to their afternoon backgammon game in the kingdom above. Those of you who have been at these last 3 of these memorials for my grandparents know that Sheila and Sean will provide you with such thoughtful memories, beautiful words, lovely analogies, and poignant verses, while I am here purely for comedic relief. And so I hope I get a few eye rolls from my boys over the next couple minutes as I do my traditional top 10 things you need to know about Mimi. Number 10, her cooking. Whether cooking Persian or Italian, her meals were incredible. Her pasta dishes rivaled any top-tier Italian restaurant in town. Her Fatheazam turned Kate into a lifelong fan of Persian food. And her schnitzel could cause German school kids to say Auf Wiedersehen to their mother's home cooking. Number 9, fashionista. Mimi was as stylish and Euro chic as one would get. Always classically dressed and impeccable in her style, she was our Hollywood starlet. To quote the great Italian poet Madonna Louise Ciccone, Grace Kelly, Harlow Jean, picture of a beauty queen. They had style, they had grace. Mimi ASHRAF gave good face. So I really hope the Eternal Kingdom has a Ferragamo store. Number 8, generosity. Let's be real, our grandparents spoiled all of us, grandkids and great-grandkids, throughout our lives. On our birthdays, or Nowruz, when we would be leaving Mimi and Baba's house, Mimi would always quietly slip us a plain white envelope with simply our name on the front of it. Inside was always a check that was always for much more than we deserved. All the Rasa kids and grandkids have been spoiled by many, many a white envelope. Number 7, our time together in Kelowna. Back before Kelowna was known for bad tattoos and Ed Hardy, it was known for a place we would hang out with Mimi and Baba. Many of our favorite memories of growing up at 2960 Abbott Street in the summer with Mimi and Baba, seeing her at the kitchen table pitting albalu cherries for jam, making torshi with that horrible apple cider vinegar that would make the house smell of vinegar for the next few days, or just hanging out on the deck in the sun. Kelowna was always a magical place for us growing up. Number 6, speaking of Kelowna, another side of Mimi that most of you never saw was her competitiveness. I'm sure this was being the only daughter growing up with 3 brothers. She had to learn to hold her own in competition. Nowhere was that most evident than on the Scandia mini golf course, where Mimi would quietly always come in with the best round on the putt-putt course and beat us all, despite us not seeing that coming. Number 5, desserts. She is always to blame for our sweet tooth. Our love of millefeuille, cheesecake, and especially the diplomat cakes from Bon Ton are thanks to Mimi and desserts at her place. Number 4, as mentioned earlier, she was ahead of her time when it came to healthy living. During the pandemic, she would open her window and take multiple deep breaths of fresh air off the Pacific Ocean, and then would do her walks instead of on the seawall along the in her apartment. And I'm sure that's what kept her living into her 90s, and she is a role model and to remind us all to breathe deeply and keep active. Number 3, her love of excellent writing and especially opera. No, I'm not talking about Shakespeare or Tolstoy. I'm not talking about Domingo or Pavarotti, but the artistic works of Burbank writers and Hollywood C-listers who gave us incredible additions to the literature, such as the epic quote that is fitting for an event like today. Quote, "Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives," end quote. Whether it was Days of Our Lives or Guiding Light, I loved watching, getting over to her place on Friday afternoons after school and seeing the soap operas on her TV set. Number 2, she could keep a secret for decades. In the past year, many years, I think she had to keep a secret deep down that she finally confessed to Kate and I just in the last month. And it's a story that she kept on the down low for over 47 years. The year was 1974. The place was Tehran. My parents had gone away for a one-night ski trip and had left the Persian prince with her and Baba for a weekend for the first time ever. Except the handsome prince was not having a good night. Colic had set in. Although cute as always, he was not a happy baby. So Mimi went into the cupboard and pulled out gripe water to help settle the highly intelligent and developmentally advanced prince. A tablespoon was given, and the talented prince happily gulped it down. Only at that time did Mimi realize she hadn't given the wonder child gripe water, but in fact had given the fabulous prince a spoon of rubbing alcohol. A quick trip to the pediatrician ensued, and a decision was made that the prince was fine and to make sure to not tell my parents about it, as they would never leave me alone with the two of them if they had found out. So she kept the story buried for 47 years, only to have it revealed in the last month of her life. And she would have taken it to the grave if she didn't realize it would make for a great story to give at such an event. I'm glad she told us, as it was a pretty funny memory and one of the last conversations I had with her. And luckily, the charming prince did not go blind and lived happily ever after. And finally, the number one thing you need to know about Mimi is how much she loved her family and being a mom, a grandma, and especially a great-grandma to all her little peshkels. She was the ultimate grandmother, one who would welcome you with her warm smile and would grip your hand very tightly. She loved the connection she had with each and every one of us. Even though as the firstborn grandchild, I will always be her favorite.
We have yet to learn to put Rod always last in the order of the grandkids telling their memories, I think. But here we go. So I've written some reflections after the passing of each of my grandparents, but this one was the most difficult to write. I kept asking myself, as someone rarely at a loss for words, why am I finally speechless? And then I realized, because with the passing of Mehrshid, our dear Mimi, I have now physically separated from the giants who had shaped so much of my existence, and not just my existence, but the lives of my brothers, my spouse, my brother's spouses, my nephews and niece, and my 2 boys. As children, my brothers and I had the pleasure of having both sets of grandparents live across the street from each other. Dinners at one of their homes was a regular memory,
At those dinners, we learned so much from all 4 grandparents, all of whom were unique in their own way. We learned what it meant to be hardworking. We learned what it meant to have unshakable faith. We learned what it meant to see the beauty in everything, and we learned what it meant to love humanity. Visiting Mimi's home as a child was always full of merriment and wonder. There was always some art or some piece of nature that my grandfather found that he propped up in some way. The love that Mimi and Baba had for each other was one of those great love stories. Baba would look at Mimi adoringly at all times. He always spoke so gently with her, so lovingly, that I knew in those moments I was learning what a fortress for well-being could look like. Mimi always set the dinner table with utmost elegance, and there was always warmth in the room. This was a space in which we always felt loved, and if we were having a hard day, entering their home would uplift us. Mehrshid was incredibly beautiful and elegant, that goes without saying, but it is this upliftment that I felt in her presence that is what is most indescribable. It's almost as if through her elegance, she elevated all who crossed her path. She made us recognize our own inherent nobility, and we always left her home feeling higher than when we came. God has created us all noble, but sometimes we forget our own nobility. To be in the presence of someone who sees the nobility in us, who through no words encourages us to walk taller, and to then take our noble footing and see the nobility of each and every person as we make our way in the world, is one of the greatest gifts that she has shared with us. And she did this never through words, but through the example of how she lived her life.
I think it's funny, a secret part of me thought this day would never come. Our dear grandmother Mimi had this youthful energy and vibrancy to her spirit that I often joked she would outlive us all. The second anyone entered her presence, there was a warm embrace that could be felt. I know over these last weeks I've had many friends and family reach out, and I couldn't help but think how fortunate we were to have not only an incredible grandmother, but also an amazing great-grandmother to 5. Although selfishly a part of me thought we would have more time together, I know I always feel so fortunate to have had her in my life for so many years. Mimi played a huge role in shaping me into the person who I am. Having spent so much time with her and my grandfather Baba growing up, witnessing the 2 of them through my formative years was the greatest example I could have ever received. Some of my earliest memories are with the 2 of them. They were my first babysitters. From me throwing tantrums in the streets of New York during the Baha'i World Congress, to our travels and sleepovers together, I have so many memories that I cherish. Every Friday, we would have family dinners at their apartment, and it was one of those things I looked forward to the most. Once I became a teenager, Friday nights became a time to go out with friends. However, I would always say I would have to have dinner with my grandparents first prior to joining them. Soon, some of my smarter friends caught on why family dinners were not to be missed. It was because of my grandmother's cooking and hospitality. One of my best friends, Alex, would often bus to Mimi's apartment and join for these dinners prior to us heading out to join the rest of the group. We usually would have to explain ourselves as to why we were too full for what otherwise would have been a second dinner. One of the first things that comes to mind when I think of Mimi is her timeless elegance. She carried herself with a kind of Audrey Hepburn poise that anyone would hope to attain a sliver of. Both in my personal life as well as my career, this idea of timelessness is something that has always stuck with me, and I can attest that Mimi is one of the people most responsible for that. From their apartment design to her incredible sense of fashion, I always looked in admiration. It wasn't until later studying architecture that I learned about Adolf Loos and the role of his movement in the European modernist style. As I read through his many texts, I would often think of Mimi as this embodiment of elegance that transcends time. On the topics of love, patience, family, and devotion, Mimi always in my mind set the standard as how one should carry themselves. Although being of a small stature, she was this incredible fortress of calm and solitude to all who crossed her path. No matter how difficult your day had been, the way she would welcome and provide for you often would offer a sense of resolve. Through years of witnessing this quiet but strong presence of hers, I knew that when the time came to find a partner, it would be a quality that I would look for. When I finally met Stephanie, it is no surprise that I would find this instant connection with her, because it was rooted in characteristics that were displayed to me my entire life. Now that we've been married 5 years, and having witnessed my own parents' 50th anniversary this year, it makes me think of that party we held for Mimi and Baba's golden anniversary so many years ago. Although, at the time, I was only a child, and having a young perspective on life, 50 years may have felt like an eternity, but one thing that always stuck with me was this youthfulness of their love. Although 50 years had passed, it felt like they had just fallen in love for the first time. On the topic of love and marriage, Abdu'l-Baha writes, even as two birds, they should warble melodies upon the branches of the tree of fellowship in harmony. They should always be elated with joy and gladness, and be a source of happiness to the hearts of others. They should set an example to their fellow men, manifest true and sincere love towards each other, and educate their children in such a manner as to blazon the fame and glory of their family. I can't find words to better describe Mimi and Baba. Just like these two birds, our dear Mimi has now joined Baba on that branch after many years of separation, and I am certain they are singing sweet tunes together.
Thank you, family and friends close and far. We now will proceed to the cemetery, which is at a certain distance from the funeral home where we are now. The prayer for the dead will be said at the cemetery. So the burial, in case you wish to be part of the ceremony, is going to happen at 1 o'clock. We have to go into our cars and get to the cemetery. So if you want to leave your live streaming on, you could, but you could just sort of come back to the link at 1 o'clock. I wish to thank particularly the Hollyburn Funeral Home and Bruce, Charlene and the team for the love they shared on us and for taking care of our Mimi. And also Ryan for the live stream, and also our wonderful musician. They all added a special touch to today's event. So I would like to invite now either Charlene or whoever to just sort of guide us. And we will proceed, and we will see you again at 1 o'clock with the burial at the cemetery.
So we have about 20 minutes, folks, before we're going to leave for the cemetery. That's going to give the funeral team a chance to take all the flowers out and take them up to the cemetery ahead of time. So this is your time right now. You can go out to the lobby and you can relax out in the chairs out there, or if you feel more comfortable going to your vehicles, you can. We won't be leaving here until 20 to 1, and I'll ask you to put your headlights on bright and your four-way flashers. We're going to go very slow. We're going to turn on to Marine Drive, and then we're going to go up 21st to the upper levels, and then we will take the Taylor Way exit and make our way through the British properties. So I would suggest for everybody, if you need to use the bathroom, now would be the time as well. Thank you. Donovan, Rick, if I can call you forward.
So we can start moving the flowers out.